Welcome, everyone. My name is Charles de Vilmorin, and I am the Senior Vice President of Resident Engagement over here at LifeLoop. And I'm so excited to welcome all of you for the third session of our third annual Validation World Congress. Before I let our panelists introduce themselves, Brenda, Sam, Bonnie, and Jim, I wanted to share a little bit about the event today, share a little bit about the background, and a few housekeeping reminders. Activity Strong was started in partnership by NCAP, NAP, Activity Connection, and a company called Linked Senior that I co-founded that then was merged with LifeLoop last summer. And we are extremely excited to partner on this day today with the Validation Training Institute to bring you some of the best education today on how the creative arts for purposeful living with cognitive change. I am also excited that this session is going to be led by Brenda Roberts. And Brenda Roberts is awesome and amazing for many different things. But one in particular is that she leads an awesome organization that we can't wait to hear more about called the National Council of Dementia Mind. So excited to get started in a few minutes. Before we do that, just a few housekeeping reminders is that we are glad to be able to offer 3 NAB, NCAP, NCTRC, NCCDP CU credits. So to earn the credits, you need to attend the 4 sessions. So as few as 1 and as up to 3 today. You will need to fill up the survey, the CU survey, no later than midnight on Sunday, March 2nd. So we'll be able to process these certificates and again, issue up to 3 hours for each. Given the high number of attendees today, these certificates will be sent out via email throughout the week of March 3rd and no later than Friday, March 7th. If you have any questions, as always, please feel free to reach out to us at webinars@lifeloop.com. This session is going to be recorded, so please, make sure that if you want to rewatch it, come back to our website, lifeloop.com, or share it with your friends and colleagues. We use both the chat and the Q&A feature of Zoom, and as Brenda saw and maybe remembers from past event, the chat gets really busy. So please feel free to engage with everyone. Select everyone from the drop-down so we can see your contribution. And if you have a question for our panelists, please direct that in the Q&A feature. And last, but certainly not least, one of my favorite ask, requests, or piece of advice is please have fun right now. And thank you for everything that you do every single day. A little bit about myself very quickly. As I mentioned, I am now the SVP Resident Engagement for LifeLoop. I believe that old people are cool and that our industry, senior living, is quote-unquote activity strong. A little bit about LifeLoop briefly. Our goal is to help senior living communities flourish. And we do this with a platform that's designed to enrich the residents, all residents, the residents' experience, not only through engaging content, but also with different sets of tools to empower staff so they do what they love to do, is to help residents, people live with purpose every day. We recently launched an AI-enhanced calendar management with great tools to help with creativity. So again, taking what Vicky was talking about from zero to hero, helping everyone be slightly more creative and absolutely save time. Today, we touch the lives of 1 in 6 person who lives in communal setting, and we are on track to touch 1 out of 3 by 2027. So very excited for that. Now, our third session today is all in the vein of the creative arts, is about unmasking dementia, the power of performing arts. And Brenda, this is quite a panel you've helped us assemble today. And I just can't wait to help them introduce yourself. And just last thing I'll say is I just want to thank you again for partnering with us on these events. They're always better with people like you on it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. If you were listening in during the break, you know what this is a modest panel. We were like, yeah, they saved us for last because saved the best for last. So we're really glad to be here and help you end your webinar series other than your happy hour with some fun and excitement, I hope. So everyone, I'm Brenda Roberts. I have the pleasure of being the Executive Director for National Council of Dementia Minds. We are super proud to always say that we are founded and governed by people living with dementia. In fact, we're the first organization in the United States to do so. We offer peer support groups for persons living with dementia and educational events like we're participating today by persons living with dementia, for people living with dementia, friends, family, and care partners. I encourage you to visit our website at dementiaminds.org to learn more about us, sign up so that you can get information about our educational events or refer people who might be interested in joining a group. You are in for a treat today. We have three incredible speakers. We have Sam Simon and Bonnie Erickson from National Council of Dementia Minds, along with Jim Manji, a dear friend to both me and National Council of Dementia Minds. Each panelist will introduce themselves as they start their presentation. We'll kick things off with Sam, followed by Bonnie, and then Jim will bring it home for us. But we've also reserved time for Q&A at the end. So please submit your questions in that Q&A box, and we'll get to it at the end of our presentation. We're saving time for that, so please prepare your questions. Now, with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dementia Man himself, Mr. Sam Simon. It's all yours, Sam.
Thank you so much. I'm going to present. I live in McLean, Virginia. I've been diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's in 2022. And what you're going to hear is an excerpt from the one-person play that I've written and been touring since 2023. It's been presented in full over 50 times, and a brief video from a PBS play, a PBS television program that I think sums up where I and my care and love partner, Susan, my wife, is. So here goes. The neurologist sitting in front of us is clearly uncomfortable. He doesn't make eye contact. We are in his private office, not the familiar exam room. I wonder now if we should have realized that this was a dramatic moment for both parties, the patient and the doctor. Dr. Banks is looking down at a piece of paper. He doesn't make eye contact. Looks like we're at a new diagnosis. And then he mumbles, early stage Alzheimer's. He is talking about me, Sam. Susan, my wife, then of 54 and a half years, is sitting next to me. We just sit in a silence that still comes around occasionally. It's as if the universe has stopped. Today, almost 4 years into this journey, I think back on that moment and wonder if the silence was because we didn't know much about Alzheimer's or because we did. I only remember the silence. In the days, weeks, and early months following the diagnosis, I had to come to terms with the existential questions that surround a terminal diagnosis. What should I do? What are my options? Those questions are still on my mind. As I initially struggled with these questions, my heart and soul were all twisted up. Can I continue in this life of mine, or do I need to curl up and die? Even now, my family and friends are empathetic, yet I can sense the terror in their hearts. I hear the subtext of their reactions. Oh my God, that's terrible, you poor thing. I wonder if those people understand the impact of their words. No wonder so many people with this diagnosis fold into themselves and never come out, or worse, in their lives through some form of suicide. My impulse to do something different comes from two places. One is Susan and her strength and unconditional love. She is an unlikely survivor herself of advanced breast cancer. Her experience, her journey from a presumed end-of-life illness to an unlikely survivor reminds us that even when the doctor tells us it's over, you can beat the odds. She did. Susan's brush with death is the primary source of my belief that I too might be an outlier, the 1%, or maybe the only one who beats the odds on this disease, whatever that phrase means for Alzheimer's. Another source of my encouragement was and is from my professional artistic cohort. What I refer to now is what I call my fourth age. It's my later in life. I'm now 79. And my transformation from lawyer, businessman, advocate, to become an actor, playwright, and solo performer has allowed me to become fully engaged in the business of a self-producing artist. As I started letting my theatrical colleagues know about my diagnosis, their first words were, "Write about it, Sam. Live the story on the page and on the stage." This advice wasn't obvious to me. I was incredulous. I've come to learn and believe that life with this disease is worth living. Yes, my journey is filled with scary, sometimes very, very dark moments. At the same time, it is a journey informed by a life as a consumer advocate and a former disability advocate. It is also a story of becoming different, defying norms, and aspiring to an experience that defies stereotypes and expectations. The feedback I get most often is at the end of a performance of the play is that I'm brave. The word perplexes me. I don't feel brave. Truthfully, I don't know what to feel. I'm uncertain at times. I'm angry sometimes, and not because I have the disease. I'm outraged at how the medical infrastructure of this country is failing people like me. Most often, my feelings are familiar, consistent with how I've confronted every step of my life journey. The person who always speaks out and challenges norms, practices, and unfair or unjust policies. I use the label troublemaker to express that life story. Causing trouble for me is speaking out for a world of meaning, justice, and love for all people. In some ways, I experience my own life as doing just that, define my own expectations along the way. For audiences experiencing my performance, I hope they too might come to imagine the future differently for everyone. I have seen the world change in ways no one could have imagined. Earlier in my lifetime, and perhaps in yours, there were no people in wheelchairs on our streets. Theaters did not have captioning, and we couldn't fathom a blind person sitting in the audience of a play. Yet that is now the norm, though there's still much more to be done in the near future. What if the same transformation could happen for us, people with cognitive impairments, cognitive navigators, a person who, and other accommodations as available to us as curb cuts, a desk at a hospital or inside a grocery store, airports and trains and stations, things like this, which you can get at an airport now. Big yellow flowers and a big sign, cognitive help desk. Why have these accommodations for people with dementia, you ask? You don't see any of us walking around the streets, eh? Well, just like at one time there were no people in wheelchairs. Well, what I learned, to quote my neurologist from that very first meeting when I got my diagnosis, he said, it could be 5, 10, or maybe even 15 years before things get a lot worse. In other words, there are a lot of us cognitively impaired people walking around town who can be relatively independent with just a little help. One last note about the end. There is another movement afoot, sometimes called euthanasia or accompanied suicide, that allows people to choose when and how to die. Advocates for this cause often claim that aided or assisted suicide provides a greater agency and is more humane than the journey through lengthy, expensive, and sometimes painful illnesses. My call and my play in here is to those of us going through these changes and to their loved ones is to reimagine the future, aspire to a future where it is possible for all of us, however we present ourselves, to live meaningful lives. A world in which the people and systems adapt and we all commit to taking life's journey together, if not for ourselves, then for the generations yet to come. We will always have something to give to our families and to the medical world. And now please watch this brief video from a public broadcasting play, Living Well with Dementia. And that is the cue.
That's the cue, Charles. If you would show the video. Are
Yes,
you ready?
Yes, I am. Just going to
Perfect. Thank you.
This is how it ends. I'm not going to die, well, at least not right away. I'm just going to go away, transform, become someone else. To get a terminal diagnosis, it's not beatable. We evolved into the response. I want to be the outlier. There's this bell curve. Everybody here dies really early. Everybody here average about the same time. And there's some 1% out here who may never. I want to be that person. So you shoot for that. She eventually became a self-taught bookkeeper and worked at a small business in town. So it's a journey. It's not, I don't pick it. I can't change it. But I can live it. And I will try to live it in the best I can. The best I can. Even Nelson Rockefeller thought that
he has a purpose. And I think that's very important. What can I do? It's positive.
and the purpose is not to die.
Right,
The purpose is to live a meaningful life
right.
with the disease.
Mhm.
How do you live a meaningful life with what you're given? And that ultimately becomes our choice. As usual, from the beginning, Susan's been right. Let's just take Switzerland off the table. And just see how many more troublemaking years I have left.
Thank you.
Excellent. You can stop the video now, Charles, if you would. The sharing. Wonderful. The texts are in the chat. Sam, it's saying what an inspiration, how moving, how insightful. I'm sure all the great things that you hear, hopefully after every one of your presentations. So thank you very much. And we're having comments in the panel. Oh my gosh, they're blowing it up. Oh, Bonnie. To follow Sam, it's a tough one, but I know you're up to it. So, Bonnie, will you introduce yourself?
Hello. Excuse my little raspy voice here. I've had a cold. Hi, I'm Bonnie Erickson, and I had a stroke at 57. And while I was in the hospital, they did an MRI and found that I had moderate white matter disease as well. And initially diagnosed with MCI, and later early stage young onset vascular dementia. And after a PET scan last year, it sounds like we're going to get an additional frontotemporal degeneration. So what I have is called mixed dementia. There's a couple different things going on. And let's see here. I need to get to my little notes. There was a time I could just wing it, but those days are over. So I went down the road and I was looking for somewhere. I'm a firm believer in support groups and people with like kind issues, no matter what they are, getting together and learning from each other and holding each other up and discussing workarounds for various issues. And there wasn't anything locally. So I ended up answering a little request from a lady named Brenda out there in Michigan. I'm in Montana, for about 8 people to get together and work on a project. And the only qualification was that you had some type of cognitive diagnosis. So we met, and all 8 of us, and we worked on a project. And first of all, NCM is an organization in which people living with dementia educate, advocate, and support one another, and a whole bunch more. I'm just giving you the short version. I could go on and on about all we do and how we support people living with dementia, their care partners, communities, researchers, healthcare providers, and professionals like yourselves, many of you. But my time is limited, so I'm going to focus on the educational and creative aspects of a support group. NCM's first video creation, which was the 8 I just talked about, was titled The Journey. Some of you have probably seen it. And it starts out with a narrator in the cockpit of a plane. And he's kind of telling us to buckle up. It might be a bumpy ride, and hopefully we'll get some smooth sailing once we get through the turbulence. And then the video takes the audience through the typical journey. Maybe the part that what it looks like early on, there's something wrong with me. I don't understand why I'm not remembering things, or having difficulty with math or executive functions, into the medical vortex, and of course the diagnostic process, which can often end up being a little isolated and lonely. For instance, the word on the street is so many of us get told to go get your affairs in order, go live your life. And on one hand, that's very true. And on another, we should all have our affairs in order. But when you're getting a diagnosis like that, there really should be a little basket of hope. I mean, once I met all the others and found out some people have had a diagnosis for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, everybody's journey is so different. So then it takes you into the diagnostic process, which for most catapults you into the grieving process. And we all know the steps of grieving. I kind of hung around in the denial a little bit too long, until I was really struggling at work and had to make some other choices in my life. And then back through the light and the acceptance and choosing to live one's best life. So the journey received rave reviews, and from there we founded the National Council of Dementia Minds. The support groups are the anchor of the organization. Together, we provide emotional support, shared experiences, information and resources, encourage and motivational, and provide motivations to one another. Working on advocacy and educational videos are a bonus. My personal opinion after 6 years with NCDM is that being part of a support group has helped me stay independent. I have dozens of people to confer with or call for a workaround or get an opinion when needed, relieving some of what I might have when I might have called my daughter and said, oh, I'm taking my pills wrong, or that kind of a thing. So this union of people so many have been through all the same things you're going to go through, and they're willing to share their workarounds. I also feel that being part of a support group has slowed my progression. I'm not isolated, which is often a big part with the diagnosis. We give each other emotional support and keep our brains active through education and advocacy. It's a win-win. So how does it work when we, get into our videos, our art? We do create a video, and our groups consist of 5 to 10 individuals that will be working on the project. And we start with brainstorming video topic ideas, things that are near and dear to our hearts, things that we want the public to know. I mean, it's all about educating the public from our point of view. Then we break down the topics into subcategories so everyone has a part in the production. We talk about and write individual parts. We tape, edit, and publicly present our educational finished videos. Nearly all videos address stigma and myth busting of some sort. My group, the Sisters of the Dragonfly, are working on a mask presentation, which basically is, I've been diagnosed. I don't want anybody to know. So I wear this invisible mask. I'm not going to tell my best friend yet. I'm not even going to tell my children yet. And I'm certainly not going to tell my work because for fear of, performance issues. And again, that's an individual choice. We have a lady who has been around Alzheimer's on both sides of her family, her mother's and father's, their parents, and then them, and now her. And she's like, I never wore a mask. Why? I had nothing to hide. It is what it is. And I've just lived my whole life around familial Alzheimer's. And so I've never worn one. And she too has a piece in our project because how honest is that? So what we're going to do now is just share a little clip from a project, from our mask project. It's my piece that I put together and it's not edited yet. So we'll just play that and then we'll talk about it at the end of our presentation.
Perfect. Thanks, Bonnie. So Charles, that's your cue to play a Bonnie's short video. Perfect. Oh, we're at Jim's. There we go. There's Bonnie. I love it already.
Nope, no sound.
No sound, Charles.
Technology.
Me? But while he's doing that, Bonnie, I love the idea of the full mask, somebody who hasn't come out at all. The whole, you talked about the partial mask for those who are out partially, and the really brave folks who've gotten to be mask free. So let's see if you got sound here.
Oh.
Oh no, still no sound.
You have, Brenda?
If Charles can't get it, we'll let Jim do his
I
presentation.
would like to share a little bit about myself with you. I'm a wife of 43 years, a mother and a grandmother. I love the outdoors and spending time enjoying both the mountains and the ocean. In general, I have a great life. Why the mask? I wear this mask to protect myself from the world's view of people living with cognitive change or decline, to protect myself from stigma of my medical diagnosis. You see, I've been diagnosed with subcortical white matter disease and frontotemporal degeneration. When you hear the word dementia, what do you think of first? late stage and what that looks like, right? I did too. But I can tell you we were wrong. The world's view is wrong. Yes, there is late stage to dementia, but there is also a whole lot of living prior to that. Our global perspective on dementia is often marred by stigma, which significantly impacts those living with the condition and their families. Stigma around dementia is fueled by negative stereotypes, fear, and misconceptions. The media often portrays us in a negative way. They show us late stage instead of focusing on the entire journey. I educated myself and threw out the tragedy story of late stage. When I became an advocate and set out to change the stigma for those living with a diagnosis, I took my mask off. Living with dementia or cognitive change is not just about end stage. It's about the journey. It is about finding ways to connect and stay engaged in the world around us. Efforts to change this stigma include raising awareness, promoting positive narratives, and encouraging inclusive practices that respect the dignity of individuals with dementia. Fact, there is a whole lot of living to be done before late stage.
Awesome. I love it. I can't wait to see the rest of them. So, I'm with the National Council of Dementia Minds. And so, I'm super excited about Bonnie's presentation. And Sam, you had mentioned how your performance gave you purpose. And that's what Dementia Minds does too, in terms of, a friend described it as a support group on steroids, because you have your support group, but you also have the opportunity to roll up your sleeves and write a script and get creative in how you want to deliver it, go out and deliver it, and then experience the power of the feedback you're giving Bonnie and you gave Sam in the chat about the impact that they're having when they come out and teach you about living with dementia. So amazing work to both of them. Okay, Jim, you're next on the slate. Got some big shoes to follow here, but I know you'll do it.
Well,
Okay, yep, you're good.
good day, everyone. I am Jim Manji. With any kind of luck, we'll show our slides here. I lead a nonprofit in the small Michigan town called Saline. Our work is inspired by my 17 years as my wife's caregiver on her dementia journey. Our purpose is to make our town dementia friendly, a town where persons with dementia are welcome anywhere in the community, where they can feel visible with no embarrassment, where they can participate fully in community life. Now, to that end, my outfit, Dementia Friendly Saline, runs 9 or 10 educational and social programs, and I want to mention just 3 that are relevant here. Next slide, my friend. We have a dementia-friendly community chorus. It's inspired by analogous groups in other states. And ours is led by a professional music therapist and a manager with dementia care experience. The chorus is open to anyone who wants to have fun singing with other people. We have persons living with dementia, including some fairly far into their journey. And we have caregivers, and we have members of the community with no specific dementia connection. They just want to work with other folks who enjoy making music. The rehearsals are wonderful. Our community members are very, very quickly adapt to the memory and thinking problems that the chorus members might have. And everyone works happily together to sing tunes that they grew up with. Next, please. So at a performance, this mixed chorus belts out the likes of My Girl and Respect and When I'm 64. And the public audience pretty much can't tell which singers are on the dementia journey. Everyone is just having a great time. This chorus is affirming or validating for the persons with dementia. They are not only fully accepted in this very public event, but enabled to offer something to the community at large. And it is in turn enlightening to community members who are in the chorus themselves to experience working together with persons with dementia as they're being exactly that. Persons, not sufferers, not victims, not patients, just the persons that they are and they will be like every other human until their last breath. Next, please. And for the general public audience, it's also enlightening to enjoy lovely live music offered by this mixed group, clearly making the point that persons with dementia are capable of and enjoy meaningful participation in community life. And even for those who don't attend the concert, the advertising and the favorable news coverage that we get helps make the point to the wider public that living with dementia is not something that has to be hidden. Next, the message, which we make explicit in our printed material and signage, is it's a disease, not a disgrace. So we run 2 other programs that use the performing arts to help affirm the personhood of people living with dementia. We run the first in the US dementia-friendly movie events. It's an afternoon screening adapted for the comfort of persons with dementia and their caregivers. Next, please. Every month at a commercial movie theater. Can we get that next slide there, Charles? Thank you. There we go. Thank you. Every month, Imagine, a commercial movie theater, shows a classic movie, usually a musical, think Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, or more recent ones like Mamma Mia. Next slide, please. And when we show it, we keep the lights on and we soften the sound. And we tell folks, it's okay to forget the rules. Next one. We tell them, go ahead, talk during the movie, clap to the music, tap your feet, sing along, and if you want, get up and dance. And they do. Next. With costume contests, fun film facts, trivia, goodie bags, door prizes, and more, it's really a party where we show a movie. Next. And we have a crew of volunteers to make the experience smooth and easy for everyone, every step of the way, starting right here with our curbside greeting and our reverse valet service. We have just begun our 3rd year of this program, and we are reaching the 130-seat capacity of the theater, not counting the dozen or so guests we have every month who come in wheelchairs. You might say, we're going to need a bigger theater next. But it's what our theater goers say that makes it so powerful. One wife of a smiling husband said, "Oh, it's so good to see him feel visible again." And as a joyfully tearful wife said after a movie. I just had a date with my husband for the first time in 9 years. We shared popcorn. We held hands, just like the old days. That's it, enabling people dealing with dementia to once again enjoy the cinematic arts, enjoy the full experience of going out to the movie theater, popcorn and all, and doing it in a very public way, not sequestered away in a memory care facility. Next. And the general public passing through the lobby of the theater on their way to see some other film, they see our dementia-friendly welcome table, and they often ask about the event. We explain it, and they always endorse the idea that persons with dementia are as welcome in that public space as everyone else. Some passersby even join our movie event instead of going to the movie that they came to see. We pioneered this dementia-friendly movie program in the US, as I said, here in Michigan, but in the 2 years, almost 3 now, that we've been running it, it has spread to 13 other communities that we know of in at least 6 other US states. Related to our movies program is our dementia-friendly live theater. Much the same idea. Volunteers greet guests at the curbside, and they smooth the way for people into the theater next, where the play includes a few adaptations. We keep the lights on, we soften the sound, slightly slower dialogue at critical points of the play, and an explicit okay to go and take a break during the play without waiting for the intermission. Next. And we've done this for 2 different plays. One of them, the musical, Annie. It sold out. And everyone at the event, including the cast, had a wonderful time. We're planning the next show. So, in Michigan, we are demonstrating that our friends dealing with dementia can work with other community members to produce music to give back to the public. And with a little help from their friends, persons with dementia can enjoy the full experience of going out to the movies with their loved ones. Likewise, welcomed into the theater, they can enjoy the magic of a live play next. So we are demonstrating with these and other programs that persons with dementia are not apart from next, but instead a part of the community next. Thank you very much.
Awesome. I told you they saved the best for last. And Jim, for those who don't know, my husband's been living with dementia for almost 11 years. And as you speak and talk about the experience, I can weigh in as the care partner perspective. I wish I lived in your community. I know we've been able to visit on a couple of occasions, but I wish we could do it more. I wish they would offer this in our community. And I see some folks already entering in. We're going to do this in Long Island. We're going to do this. So, yep, that's what Jim's all about. Take it over. He wants you to take it over, his ideas, steal his ideas. And I love it, love it, love it. And so thank you so much, Jim. So we have just about 15 minutes yet. And there's plenty of love in the chat box, just saying, so thank you very much. But I'm hoping for a few more questions in the Q&A box. And I told people while you all were talking that, we're open to any and all questions, and that this was especially their opportunity to ask anything they want to of people living with dementia. And Jim too, of course. But the first one, I'm not quite sure, is there any the word was misspelled in German. And so if you could, whoever had that question could re-enter again. If you're thinking about dementia mind type groups, there is an organization called Dementia Alliance International, and that might be a good place to check. And then Veronica, I love your questions. Thank you, thank you, thank you for asking them. And Bonnie and Sam, I know you've been reading them. And so the first one is it a good idea to tell friends and family about her diagnosis? So it must be a family member. I'm afraid they'll constantly mention it to her because they're worried about her and start recommending things she could do or take to help it. And I don't know if that will make it worse in her mind. And also, she may be overly obsessed or too self-conscious to talk about it. So what do you guys have to say about how sharing your experience in what that was like and what it might be like for this person? Bonnie and then Sam.
Well, first of all, I'm not sure where she's at in her journey. And so I'm just going to pretend like she was just diagnosed and just fairly new with the information. And, just talking my own experience and talking with others, I mean, it's a big shock. It's a big, that's the last thing I expected any physician to tell me. I always thought it was going to be some other thing, but I think it's a very individual avenue to tell my friends and even my family. I just feel that you need time to kind of get used to the idea and educate yourself about the idea at credible places. Believe me, I scoured the internet 24 hours a day. I didn't sleep for a week or two. But you can get yourself in the darkness. Like you mentioned here, maybe your person that would make her sad, but maybe just have a conversation with them or her or him and just say, have you told anybody? Do you want to tell anybody? Because the support of others is huge. And sometimes I think people that get a diagnosis tend to isolate themselves. And they also do self-stigma, many of us. We are members of society, and you hear the word, you instantly think, oh my gosh, how much time do I have? How quickly am I going to progress? All of that. So without going on and on and on, it sounds like you're close enough with this person to maybe sit down, and she'll probably tell you who she wants to tell and maybe who she doesn't, and that maybe she wants to hold back. And the last thing, people that have a terminal illness, is to pretend like it's not happening. So it's okay to talk about it. We want to talk about it. We want you to understand what we're going through. So open dialogue is my suggestion.
Perfect, Bonnie. What do you have to say, Sam? Are you kind of agreeing with Bonnie, or do you have a different take? Don't forget to unmute yourself. Oh, I'm sorry, Sam.
I need to unmute, and yeah, there you go.
Gotcha.
Now I'll have to go over it now. I have a couple of things. I'm not proud. I go out there, maybe, and everybody's different. I know a lot of people don't want it mentioned because I've had the feedback. I've had somebody call me in our community. My husband won't tell anybody because he's afraid he's going to get fired. Again, remembering we're early stage generally, though early stage doesn't mean you're not impacted by it. And as you go to early mid stage, it gets even more important. Somebody put in the questions, we lose things, and there's a difference between people. You get all the time, oh, I lose things too. We learned that, for example, people with a cognitive disease generally cannot retrace their steps, whereas someone who doesn't will forget where they put it, but they can retrace their step. But there are differences. but being loud. I do want, I was very fortunate. I had somebody early on I was on the board of directors of the World Institute on Disability, and my girlfriend, she passed away, Lynn Fielder, took me to lunch early on. She had at 30 had Parkinson's, and then by 40 had to retire. But she told me something that I think answers this question. If we can get to this place, but she helped me get to it. I'm not poor. She said, I'm not poor Lynn. And so I would say, I'm not poor Sam with this terrible disease. I'm Sam Simon with Alzheimer's, and I will be the best Sam Simon with Alzheimer's that the world has ever seen. Getting to that point is not easy necessarily, but I'm so grateful to Lynn, because I don't know if I would have, even though it was a different context and a different time, it has helped me immensely, because it's shocking. It can be very shocking to everybody. And I think the goal is to enable people to be loud. I say, I don't want to say proud or loud. We can't do anything about it, but to be out there. And the reverse side is trying to avoid being the pity party. Oh, poor you, it's terrible. But I want them to engage with me, and if I need more time, or if I forget, if I misstate, just work with it and treat people with dignity. There you go.
I love it. And I have a friend who's living with dementia, and excuse me, and he talks about the pity party. And he tells me he throws a pity party once in a while for himself, and he goes to the party, but his secret is to not stay too long. And so, I mean, it just, sometimes you go there, sometimes it happens, at least for him. And his secret is don't stay, past your curfew, a bit more or less. Okay, another great question by Veronica. And it's so since I'll do the Sam and Bonnie thing, or the Bonnie and Sam thing again, because I think you both will want to answer. And this is when someone loses things or doesn't remember where they put them. I'm sure neither of you ever had that experience, but just if you did, is there there's a common place where they put or hide things? Okay, no, this wasn't the question I thought. Okay, I had seen it earlier. I'm sorry, Veronica, in terms of if somebody gets upset about not finding something, should we tell them it's okay, we don't need it right now, we'll find it later? Or is there another approach? So Bonnie and Sam, you can't find something. And so I'm like, I come up and say, oh, Bonnie, it's okay, don't worry, we'll find it later.
Oh, I have to share this story. This happened to me. So my daughter for Christmas, because I'm starting to lose little things, and anyhow, it's like a tile, and I have a remote that I put back to the same place. So when I can't find my phone or I can't find my keys, I can beep them and run around the house and come up with them. So just the other day, I was getting ready to go somewhere, and where's my keys? Where's my keys? Where's my keys? And I got the beeper, and I'm walking around the house. Oh, it sounds like they're in the living room. So I went in there and I beeped, and that made it sound like they were the other way. So I went up the hall and I beeped. And long story short, I'm doing a lot of beeping. My husband thinking I'm losing it. And they were in my pocket the whole time. So the one thing I would suggest, if you have people, your mother, your sister, if you have people that have dementia, one of the hardest things for me was my girlfriend would try to make me feel normal and say, oh, that happens to me all the time. That happens to me all the time. I know this is just off a cog in your question, but please don't minimize, because she knows she's going to find them. We start to build, and things get harder and harder as the anxiety comes along with the mission to find. And I don't know what's with oftentimes people with dementia also have visual issues. I can be looking at my desk, and then I'm looking, and now I'm over here, and now I'm over here and over here and back, and cannot cannot see that one item I'm looking for. And it's just the weirdest thing. So just be supportive and maybe say, well, let's all take a look, because your eyes are probably going to hone in, and it might be a visual thing that they're not seeing them, that they're walking right past them. You know, that beeping thing probably can be a little annoying, but it's helping me stay independent and finding my items.
Just real quick, if I can jump in.
Yes, please.
I think I mentioned it before, but just to understand, we've been told, and we agree, my wife and I, because we see it, that I can't retrace my steps. I'll have forgotten something, but I have to look everywhere for it. Not, oh, I was in the car and then I came into my office or something. I don't remember. I can't do that. It's frustrating, drives me crazy, it drives her crazy. But that's why we do have places. I do endorse the idea of having devices that make sounds. I don't have it with me. I would love to show it. There is a card about the size of a credit card, very thin, that works like the AirTag. And that will, and if you have an iPhone, it'll tell you where your device is if you want to keep it in a wallet or a purse or like. Somebody gave it to me and it charges, and it's another way to be helpful to find things. It is a frustration. It can be, and everything that I said, there's levels of forgettingness. Did I even have it? It's not that where I left it is, it's like I didn't have it in the last 3 days. Well, yeah, maybe I did, but that's a really hard thing, is early stage, and as well I may present, that is a big thing for me, not being able to find things. And again, standard place, put it here always, is right now the best thing for us.
Right. So the whole idea about having a routine, put it in the same place, is probably one of the best practices to at least try to help avoid it. Hey, Jim, we have other questions. I'm going to ask Bonnie and Sam, but there are some questions in the Q&A that you might want to text or type an answer to. They're asking about grants and, different things like that. So you might want to take a peek so that we can cover those. And somebody asked, is the video that Bonnie talked about, the journey with Dementia Minds is the name of it, if it's available. And it's not publicly available, but what we do, National Council of Dementia Minds, you can host a presentation where we zoom in and we show the video, and then we do a Q&A afterwards. And the reason we do it like that is, while our videos are awesome, we believe the true learning experience happens with the Q&A back and forth like this. So that's for the benefit of the audience, but on the other hand, it's also the benefit of the person's living with dementia, because it gives them the opportunity to come out like this, speak with you, answer your questions, and builds that meaning and purpose that we talked about earlier. And I find it interesting, I can't help but notice that in the chat, somebody said, I want to know, I'm just curious about Sam and Bonnie, what you think of this comment. The doctor said, forgetting your keys is not a sign of dementia. It's when you don't know what the keys are for anymore. What's your response to that? Beg your pardon?
Personally, I think that if you're losing your keys all day because of memory issues, I mean, it's some sort of cognitive, when you can't find your phone, or what, my wedding ring, if I've taken it off and setting it down, I mean, there's definitely been a change. What I found from my physician was, it's normal to lose your keys, and it's normal to forget things. It's not normal to be losing your keys 5 times a day, or your phone, or, I'm finding I'm just convinced I'm throwing things away. I'm losing things that are nowhere to be found. And I truly think that a set of keys with my fob and everything just went in the garbage on my way to get the mail. it's just so interesting and so bizarre.
Yeah, and there's a long difference between, in terms of the advancement of dementia, between losing a key and not knowing what a key is
Right.
for.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
people put their keys in ice boxes. I've heard those stories or things like that. And then it's also more advanced. And, you know, one of the hardest things for us is deciding when we have to change. Susan and I are just beginning to look at senior living facilities, or do we bring somebody to live inside our home? What's those next stages going to be? So to help in advanced planning, and that might be a key to that, it may become more important to think about that help. Also, adult people have asked where I've performed before. Like, I've done the show for the National Association of Adult Daycare Providers, and that whole industry is revving up and can be an option for those of us who get to a stage where there
Absolutely.
needs to be more help, or I call her my love partner, care partner, or Susan, and she's sitting behind me, you know, needs respite and help. You know, there may be that. Those are some of the tougher questions as we progress through, and not
Absolutely.
knowing what the key is for
Right.
can be a
Excellent.
sign that it's time to, you know,
Make the
time to be
next
more
decision.
honest with ourselves about where we are.
Absolutely. If we were on stage, there'd be a big old cane with a hook trying to hook us in. I think it's called, you know, remember those days? Because Charles shows up and ends the party. Thanks a lot, Charles.
Thank you, Brenna. It's been an awesome party, and yes, we do need to close as we wrap up the hour. But I wanted to, Brenna, like I started this when I introduced you, I just want to thank you for partnering on these. It's, you know, we all are, we are big proponents of nothing about us without us, and I mean, I kept on learning for the last hour and 1 minute now. So thank you, Jim. Thank you, Bonnie. I loved your video. I watched it twice before today, like this session with the mask. I think it's so cool to have this attitude. And Sam, thank you so much for all your work there. Have an amazing day. Feel free to stay on for the happy hour. We'll share a couple of announcements before we'll move to the happy hour in a second. One is that our next event on March 11th is a continuation of the Activity Strong Hearing from Resident Engagement Champions. And this is the Flourishing Community by Life Loop program, where we highlight 12 winners in 2025, 12 winners who won the Community That Shine Award. And so very excited to have my friend Janine Kinsey, the Vice President of Social Wellness and Enrichment, joined by Kirsten Flynn, Social Enrichment Director for really true, innovative, amazing organization called American Senior Communities World. They will be talking about delivering personalized engagement across an organization. And then the next event we have is somebody truly inspiring. I saw her speak late last year, one of the best sessions I saw of the whole year last year, and her name is Anna Hall. She's the Chief Culture and Community Officer for a great organization on the West Coast called Front Porch. And she will talk about purpose as a lifelong anchor, adapting and thriving through change. So that wraps up our third and last session of our third annual Validation World Congress. Thank you all, Brenda and National Council of Dementia Mind. Thank you so much for this amazing partnership. Continue the good work.
Thank you. I'm afraid I have to leave, so I can't stay.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you.
Sam.
Thanks, everyone.
Bonnie, Jim.